আসসালামু আলাইকুম। আজকের ভিডিওতে আমরা ৪ই নভেম্বর মেইন এক্সামের লিসেনিং টেস্টের সেকশন 1 এবং সেকশন 4 টা সলভ করব। সো এই হচ্ছে আপনার প্রশ্ন। সেকশন 1 এ আপনার নো মোর দ্যান 2 ওয়ার্ডস এর কিছু গ্যাপ ফিল ছিল এবং সেকশন 4 এ 1 ওয়ার্ড অনলি। ওকে? 1 ওয়ার্ড অনলি এখানে লিখা নাই যদিও, বাট এটা হচ্ছে 1 ওয়ার্ড অনলি ছিল এবং 1 ওয়ার্ড অনলি এর আপনার হচ্ছে 10 টা গ্যাপ ফিল আসছে। সো আমি হচ্ছে অডিওগুলো প্লে করতেছি। আনসার আপনারা নিচে পেয়ে যাবেন এবং যারা হচ্ছে ৪ তারিখে এক্সাম দিয়েছিল তাদের কাছে ভিডিওটা শেয়ার করে দেন এবং একটা অবশ্যই লাইক করে দিবেন বেটার রিচের কারণে, বেটার রিচের জন্য আরকি। সো আমি হচ্ছে অডিওটা প্লে করতেছি অ্যান্ড আপনারা হচ্ছে আনসার করেন। লাস্টে হচ্ছে আমি আবার আপনাদের সাথে কথা বলব।
IELTS Listening, version K0012.
You will hear a number of different recordings, and you will have to answer questions on what you hear. There will be time for you to read the instructions and questions, and you will have a chance to check your work. All the recordings will be played once only. The test is in 4 sections. Write all your answers in the listening question booklet. At the end of the test, you will be given 10 minutes to transfer your answers to an answer sheet. Now turn to section 1 on page 2 of your question booklet. Section 1. You'll hear two friends called John and Anna talking about a holiday Anna has just had on Jackson Island. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 7 on page 2. You will see that there is an example that has been done for you. On this occasion only, the conversation relating to this will be played first.
Hi, Anna. How was your holiday to Jackson Island?
It was good. There's quite a lot to see. It's quite a big island, really.
Yeah, I was thinking of going in the summer. So where would you recommend going on the island?
Well, the capital, of course, Camford. I stayed there with my cousin.
Anna stayed with her cousin, so cousin has been written in the space. Now we shall begin. You should answer the questions as you listen, because you will not hear the recording a second time. Listen carefully and answer questions 1 to 7.
Hi, Anna. How was your holiday to Jackson Island?
It was good. There's quite a lot to see. It's quite a big island, really.
Yeah, I was thinking of going in the summer. So where would you recommend going on the island?
Well, the capital, of course, Camford. I stayed there with my cousin.
What did you do there?
Well, actually, I spent most of my time there shopping.
So has it got good shopping centres?
Yes, but they're the same as at home, really. So I did all my shopping in the market, which is great.
What kinds of things are good to buy there?
Everything. But bags and shoes especially. Just make sure you've got cash with you, as most of the stalls don't take credit cards.
OK, that's good to know. Where else did you go?
Well, my cousin and I went to Newtown. She said it was famous for its modern architecture. We only had half a day there, so we took a bus tour around the town. But if I were you, I'd give the bus tour a miss. Unless you know a lot about architecture, the buildings all look the same. There's a museum, though. That's supposed to be good. You might like that.
OK, I'll give it a go.
Then after that, we headed for Golden Beach because we were going to meet up with an old friend that I hadn't seen for years. But we had to stay in a caravan as the hotels were all booked up.
Is it as pretty as it looks in the brochures?
Yes, it's very picturesque. We did some sailing on the most beautiful blue sea. It was so clear that you could see the bottom, even quite far out to sea. That part of the trip was great, and I'd have liked to have stayed even longer. I'd suggest staying there for a minimum of 4 days if I were you. We had 2 days there and it wasn't nearly enough.
Sounds great. I'll put that on my must-do list. Was that the end of your trip?
No, after Golden Beach, we drove into the centre of the island, to White Mountain.
White as in the colour?
Yes, the island's great because you can go from the beaches up to the snowy mountain in a couple of hours. We took a tent because we were going to camp, but the weather was so cold, in fact it was snowing when I was there, that we stopped in a motel instead.
Did you go skiing then?
No, but we tried snowboarding and it was harder than it looked. It looks so easy when you see other people doing it, but it took me ages to get the hang of it. I wish I'd had some lessons, but you had to make your bookings in advance.
OK, I'll look into that. Thanks.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 8 to 10 on page 2. Now listen and answer questions 8 to 10.
So are there any other tips or advice you could give me?
I don't know. Let me think. Oh, one place you should try to visit is this very quaint cafe, which is at the foot of the mountain. It has the best cakes ever. It's worth going there just for them.
I'll have to try those. So what other advice would you give?
Oh, let me think. We didn't really have any problems.
Well, how did you get around when you were there?
We wanted to get a motorbike at first. They're very cheap to hire and great fun to ride as the roads are very good. But it turned out not to be a good idea because the weather is so changeable. You'd be much better off in a car. There are plenty of places where you can hire them, and the roads are well signposted, so you won't get lost.
And presumably I can get a map when I get there?
Well, you can, but they are expensive. It'd be better to get one here before you go.
Great. That's been really useful. Thank you.
Okay, so আমাদের section 1 complete হয়েছে. So let's move on to section 4. And definitely হচ্ছে আপনাদের যখন আনসার করা শেষ হবে আপনারা কমেন্ট সেকশনে চেক করে কয়টা আপনার কারেক্ট হলো এটা একটু চেক করে নেন, পাশাপাশি হচ্ছে আপনার কয়টা কারেক্ট হয়েছে এটা একটু কমেন্ট করে জানিয়ে দেন. সো চলেন আমরা হচ্ছে সেকশন 4 অডিওটা প্লে করি.
Or epilepsy, which are also caused.
Part 4. You will hear a lecture about a special type of sneezing. First, you have some time to look at questions 31 to 40.
এগুলো কিন্তু হচ্ছে ওয়ান ওয়ার্ড অনলি.
Now listen carefully and answer questions 31 to 40.
Welcome to this lecture in the health sciences intended to inspire you and get you thinking about your research project. Today, I want to show you how even ordinary human behavior like sneezing, which normally happens when you get a cold, may be worth studying. Have you ever been walking outside when a bright shaft of sunlight hits you between the eyes? The reaction of some people is immediate. An unpleasant prickling in the nose, an increase in their breathing rate, and an uncontrollable watering of the eyes. Then, almost as quickly, they sneeze and gain relief. This may happen every time they go into the sun. This so-called photic or light sneeze is a reflex, which means it can't be controlled, and it's very common. Anything between 1 in 10 and 1 in 3 people might be affected. In fact, a sneeze is triggered by an irritation of some sort in the linings of the nostrils. The result is a cascade of reactions, beginning with the stimulation of the nerve endings all over the face and generating an explosive expulsion of air at up to 95 miles an hour, like an extremely localized personal hurricane. The body's coordination of such reactions is complicated and belongs to the subconscious control hardware that regulates other things, for example, tears in the eyes. People have been interested in the phenomenon of photic sneezing for thousands of years. The Greek philosopher Aristotle asked, "Why does the sun prompt us to sneeze, whereas the heat of a fire does not?" A partial answer came 2,000 years later, when the English philosopher Francis Bacon showed that his photic sneeze had nothing to do with heat. If he closed his eyes when going into the sun, he didn't sneeze even though the heat was still there. Henry Everett, a consultant psychiatrist at Johns Hopkins University Hospital in Baltimore, was the first to make a systematic attempt to understand the condition. Noting in 1964 that 30% of the staff employed in the medical department were photic sneezers, Everett did some further investigation. He found that while 80% of sneezers reported other sneezers among their relatives, only 20% of non-sneezers did. Now, there are factors that are certain indicators of a photic sneeze. First of all, those with the condition almost always sneeze a set number of times on exposure to light. In addition to this, the sneeze depends on a contrast in visible brightness, such as when the sun moves out from behind a cloud. And the sneezing fit won't be repeated immediately. The body needs time before it can be recharged. So if you go back into a darkened space and then immediately re-enter bright light, you will not sneeze again. Now on to possible applications of research in this area. The photic sneeze had long been overlooked because its effects are generally less than serious, although the government did once study it as a risk factor for pilots. Yet work on such a simple disorder might lead to important discoveries on more acute conditions such as migraine or epilepsy, which are also caused by cross wires in the nervous system.
Okay, so that's the end of our today's class or video. যাই হোক, ক্র্যাশ কোর্স হচ্ছে আমার নতুন একটা ব্যাচ 24 তারিখ থেকে স্টার্ট হয়েছে। কমেন্ট সেকশন আর ইন ডিটেলসে বলা আছে, আপনারা কেউ চাইলে চেক আউট করতে পারেন। আসসালামু আলাইকুম।